My name's Sharmini Alagaratnam. I am DNV's Director of Healthcare Research.
Excellent.
Now, DNV's a really old global company headquartered in Oslo in Norway. Been going for 160 years, and I like to say that we deliver that invisible trust layer across a range of industries that no one sees but makes everything go.
Yeah. Look, I know DNV exists, and I'm really interested to learn a bit more about how you go about, like, what that looks like, instilling trust in people, because as you say, it's just been around for a long time, important in healthcare, but it's kind of one of those things in my mind that's kind of like, I've not had that direct engagement, so I'd love to learn a little bit more.
Sure, complete. You want sort of tangible examples, right?
Yeah.
And this varies very much from industry to industry. So we started out 160 years ago in the maritime industry, and we're still one of the really big players there. And there, it's classification of ships, right? Like, what size is the ship? What are the specifications? What makes it seaworthy, right?
Okay.
We do similar things in energy, in IT, but I'm then looking at involved with DNV's healthcare business. And we provide services in trust in a couple of main ways. Perhaps the biggest is certification of medical devices that will be placed on the European market. So we're a notified body for the medical device regulation.
Got it.
And in the U.S., or based in the U.S., we also have a huge hospital certification arm, which certifies over 1,000 hospitals in the U.S. For their quality management, and a number of hospitals in Brazil, China, and so on.
Excellent. And so what brings you to HIMSS Europe?
So I'm here to talk on a panel tomorrow on synthetic data. Because of my role as Director of Healthcare Research in DNV, we have a super interesting, really exciting place in the company where we get to put on our future glasses and look to see what is it in the future of healthcare that will need that trust layer, and how can we provide it. And the way we do that is by collaborating with partners who have that trust need. So we co-create solutions, prototypes to services that will answer that need. So, for example, tomorrow's panel on synthetic data, we have a whole sort of core team working on that subject. Don't know how familiar you are with synthetic data as a concept.
Yeah, look, I mean, we've touched on it a couple of times at various elements, but I'd love to get your take on it, because we've talked about digital twins in the past, and it's not exactly, but almost like running a simultaneous simulation in a safe way of like what might happen. But what does that mean in DNV side when you talk about synthetic data?
So I think digital twins and simulation data certainly are a kind of synthetic data. But what we're seeing coming up is really a need, especially with all these super data hungry AI algorithms coming up, right? That there's also a need for more and more data to train these algorithms. So we're talking about data sets that have been generated synthetically or artificially, usually from some real world data, right? That can be used to, do various things, feed AI or train AI algorithms, design or test new therapy arms, that sort of thing. And then again, what we're interested in DNV is adding that trust layer. When is synthetic data good enough? What are the aspects about it that we need to look at? How representative it is. Is there, bias in it?
Yeah.
All those aspects is what we're looking at and are bringing to the table in a European project called Cynthia. And it's huge. So Cynthia's got, over 30 partners, pharma, medtech, 28 million euros, really to create synthetic data generators, synthetic data sets. And then what we're bringing to the table then is this synthetic data quality framework.
Well, I was going to say, like, in my rudimentary understanding of synthetic data is that, you've got the real data set that's got perhaps sensitive information and patient details and everything, but you can create a synthetic replication or whatever the term might be that's kind of representative of that, but it's not actually using the patient's data. What's the difference between just like de-identifying or just creating dummy data and test data to we've given it a cool name? Like what makes it synthetic data?
Okay. So I think synthetic data is sort of, the way we've defined it, we've generated it in some way. So there's a generator, in between, right? Your original data, rather than simply de-identifying a data set, which is anonymizing it and just taking away identifiers. Synthetic data does add privacy in this way, right? But what I also think is really cool about synthetic data is that you can use it to fill in your gaps where your real data doesn't exist. On edge cases, in healthcare, rare disease perhaps, right? Or rare cancer types where you just know you haven't got enough data, but you need it to be able to train algorithms or, make better decisions. So that's kind of the added value, I would say, of synthetic data.
Absolutely. And so is this, in terms of, given that DNV has visibility globally, or does work globally and across multiple industries, is the work that you do in the health vertical kind of, are you looking over the fence into other industries and seeing what they're doing, or is what we're doing quite unique in this industry?
So it's a fantastic question, because I believe that's actually the real strength of DNV. Our program is the healthcare research program, but DNV has a research unit which consists of maritime, energy, IT, food and ocean space specific programs. And so we've got that real depth of domain knowledge, and we do discuss, and we are communicating with our maritime colleagues, for example, and they see, use for synthetic data as well in their domains, right? So one example is they're training models for ship autonomy. And, so they're using synthetic data to create more representations of, like a foggy seascape. Right? Which or like complete rainstorms, which they don't have a lot of, right? Or you'd want more of that kind of data to train your edge cases on as well. So you know that you've got full coverage and good understanding across the board.
And since you get the cool job of being able to put the future glasses on and look at what's coming ahead, we talked a bit about synthetic data. What other emerging technologies or I guess trends or things have you got your eye on that you think are going to be really relevant to healthcare today?
Yeah. I mean, we always look at things from the risk perspective, right? Like, where are the biggest risks? And we've just done a piece of work, trying to synthesize the biggest risks facing healthcare today. A couple of things there. I think really the main thing that everyone's really struggling with is sort of the ability to really deliver healthcare in the way that they feel they want to. Demographics, workforce shortages, supply chain issues with drugs and medical technology, right? I do believe that technologies can help some of the way, but it's not going to solve all our problems. So we need, and this is really the choice facing all societies, need to actually make very difficult prioritizations. So what is the knowledge that we base those prioritizations on? I would say is one thing. We do see a shift away from centralized healthcare, for sure. Healthcare can't be delivered in the same way that it's being delivered now, forever. Completely, it's just not sustainable for anyone. And then the last thing I'm going to say is what everybody at this conference is saying, and that's data sharing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because that's, I think, going to be the thing that's taking us to the next level. We know, healthcare is already the largest type of data that exists on Earth today. It's the fastest growing type of data, but it's also potentially the data that's least used.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's all locked down.
Yeah.
So if we can release that, I think it has huge potential, not just for the individual, right? which is powerful enough. But this is the special thing about health data: huge potential for populations and countries and the world. So I think that's something we really, really need to prioritize, hard as it may be.